Here we are, starting this third and final section of the book of Isaiah, the book of comfort, beginning in chapter 40. Labeled this chapter, Renew Confidence and Strength. It's kind of a call to do that. As we get into this section, it's good to keep in mind a few things as we read this, that when Isaiah spoke these words, these oracles, these prophecies, they had significance and meaning to those who first heard them, to his original audience, that we'll want to be aware of. We'll want to understand that as clearly as we can. But at the same time, they have application to today. We see several of the things in Isaiah chapter 40 to 66 repeated in the New Testament, applied, extended, that the prophecies of Isaiah weren't totally fulfilled, completely fulfilled in Isaiah's time, but await a fulfillment at the end times when Jesus returns. And then we'll want to learn how to take those prophecies that are still for the future and apply them to us today. So we'll want to be careful as we do that, as we go through here. We come to chapter 40 in this message of renewed confidence and strength. We see, first of all, this call. So it's kind of a long section. Let me divide it up for us into kind of digestible bites. Verses 1 through 5, I've labeled that call to comfort. 6 through 8, to trust in the truth. Verses 9 and 8, behold your God. And then beginning in verse 12 is a larger section that talking about God's ability to deliver and giving us reasons why he is able. And then from verses 27 to 31 is a call to renew strength. So a call to comfort at the beginning, a call to renew strength at the end of the chapter, and in between, multiple reasons to trust the Lord. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Notice how the chapter opens. Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her. Who's he speaking to here? Well, possibly and primarily Isaiah the prophet. That Isaiah the prophet is being told to go to Jerusalem and give them a message of comfort, a message of hope, particularly for the remnant. Could be that there's a school of the prophets. We see evidence of a school of the prophets in other places in the Old Testament. So these group of prophets may be sent out across Jerusalem with this message of hope. Also, it could be the remnant itself, that the remnant is being instructed to take this message from God through Isaiah and carry that message out to the rest of Jerusalem. Her welfare is ended. Her iniquity is pardoned. She has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. So this seems to be looking beyond the deliverance from the Assyrians in 701, even perhaps beyond the deliverance and return from exile that happened in 586 and then 515. So it seems to be a kind of a prophecy for the distant future. Notice verse 3, a voice cries in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Well, again, a message, a word that has significance here, that perhaps the remnant is returning. The remnant is coming back after 70 years of exile that Isaiah is looking forward to. However, Malachi repeats this at the end of Malachi. And then this is John the Baptist's message at the coming of the Lord as well. So this message echoes into the future, remains unfulfilled even to our own day. Verses 6 through 8 are about trusting in the truth. Where are you going to put your hope? Where are you going to rest your expectation for better things or change things in the future? In men or of God? That's the point of these verses. All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower falls, fades. Verse 8 again, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Well, the question that's implied here is, where are you going to put your trust? Where are you going to put your confidence? Where are you going to put your hope? In the words of men or the words of God? Of course, the answer is clearly the word of God is going to be the center of our trust and hope. Verses 9 to 8, it's a call to behold the coming of the Lord. Go up on a high mountain, O Zion, herald of good news. Lift up your voice with strength, O Jerusalem, herald of good news. Lift it up, fear not. Say to the cities of Judah, behold your God. So this is looking forward to that time of the Lord's return to Jerusalem, of his return of his Spirit, and ultimately, I think, the return of his Son. We look at Zechariah chapter 1 or 14, verses 1 through 4. We see the ultimate return of Jesus to Jerusalem, and where he will rule. Behold, his reward is with him, his recompense before him. He will tend his flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lambs in his arms. He will carry them in his bosom and gently lead those who are with the young. So, looking forward to this great time of rule, restoration, protection that's coming, that Jerusalem will experience in small part in its history, but ultimately not until the Lord returns. Verses 12 through 26 then talks about the Lord's ability to pull this off, essentially to deliver. The Lord's ability to take a battle-weary land of Israel, Judah, and particularly the city of Jerusalem, and deliver that into this glorious kingdom that's been promised for so long. We see several proofs that God will be able to do this. Verses 12 through 14, we see the proof from his power to create. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and marked off the heavens with a span, enclosed the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scale, and with hills in a balance? So it's anthropomorphizing the creation, shaping of the world, but you get the message here that who is able to do this except the Lord our God? You know, several people, modern scholars, have dismissed the first few chapters of Genesis as just a parable, a myth, a reworked Gilgamesh epic, taking the creation stories of the nations around Israel and Christianizing them, or Judaizing them, I guess, be more specific. But nothing could be further from the truth. This is a literal account of the little creation of the heavens and the earth by the hand of God. And Isaiah is grounding, and the Lord is grounding his argument here of his ability to deliver is firmly rooted in his ability to create. Verses 15 through 17, we see another reason that God can be trusted to deliver. Not only does he have a power over creation, but he has power over the nations as well. It says, behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket, and are accounted as the dust on a scale. Behold, he takes up the coastlands like fine dust. So there is nothing. That's what he's saying here. These are no more than dust as far as God is concerned. He rules these nations. They are in his hand. He wipes them off his hand as if they were just dust. So not only is he able to deliver because of the greatness in creation, but his greatness over the nations. Verse 18 talks about the fact that God is just incomparable to anything. People try to liken him to birds and animals. We call that idolatry. We try to reduce him to be in our image instead of us in God's image. Another form of idolatry. But in verse 18 it says, to whom then will you liken God? Or what likeness compare with him? An idol? And he just goes on to say how ridiculous that is. That God cannot be idolized. He cannot be reduced to an image of a man or a bird or a beast. He can't be dismissed in that way. He is incomparable. A third reason why he's able to deliver. Verses 21 through 26, God's control over creation is another reason he's to be trusted. Do you not know? Do you not hear? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. He stretches out his heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in. And it goes on here to talk about God's minute control over all he has created. I mean, if God is able to control the whole universe, isn't he able to deliver his people? That's the argument that's going on here. That continues through verse 26. Verse 27 then takes a shift. So we've had this section about a call to take comfort in the Lord and his word and what he's promised. Then we are in a section that's talking about how God is going to bring restoration, and several reasons why he can be trusted to bring that restoration. In verse 27, we see a call to renewal, a renewed hope, verses 27 through 31. Verses 27 to 28 begin with a rebuke of those who do not trust in the Lord. Why do you say, O Jacob, why do you speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right hand is disregarded by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. In other words, there's nothing hidden from him, nothing beyond him. He's the source of our hope. We need to renew our understanding of him, that everything is in him. As it'll say later on in the New Testament, the book of Colossians, Jesus himself is the epitome, the source, the container of all the wisdom of God. Then verses 28 to 31 is a call, not this time to renew your thinking about God and thereby establish hope, but rather a call to have strength in him for the remnant. Verse 29, he gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. A call to hope, a call to expectation, a call to total dependence on God. And that's the root of our hope. That's the root of our comfort. Not in ourselves, not in our ability, but in an incomparable, all-powerful God who promises to give strength and health and hope to his people. Obviously, the application for us is to place all our hope in him, place all our expectations upon him, turn to him and him alone, not to our ability. We're as nothing, dust on the scales, grasshoppers on the earth, but we should look to the Lord and look to him to renew us and sustain us. So God bless you, brothers and sisters. I pray that as in Isaiah's time, so in our time, that we, God's remnant, would be encouraged by these words to put all of our focus and all of our hope in him. God bless you.